Hello everyone. Let us wait for a few more minutes so that others will also join, and then we will start with the session. नहीं, नहीं. Okay, well, uh, I think most of you have joined, and hopefully my screen is also visible. Now, as we talked about in the last class, that we have completed the first unit, wherein we had seen various HTML tags. And in the last class, we have seen a forms tag. And as such, I have also said that we will spend one more we will spend one more class session with respect to this forms part, or what is important in HTML. So now what we will do, we in the last class we have seen this the forms, HTML forms. Now we have written the code where that is within body tag we have used the forms tag, and in this form, within this form tag, we had used input tags, where for few of them we have used the text as the type of the input. Then we also had used password as the type of the input. We has as well have used the type as radio buttons to create radio buttons, as well as type as checkboxes. Then we have also used the select tag for the drop down menu, as well as if we apply have the multiple as the option, then it becomes a list box where you can select multiple options. Then we have also seen the text area. This is a completely different tag which takes in multi-line text from the user. as well as we have seen the input tags with type as submit to create a submit button, with the as well as with the type as reset to have the create the reset button. Now these two buttons has got they have the predefined functionality that once we have the type for the input tag as submit, then a button will be created, and once a user clicks that button, it will be submitted to a program on a web server. Then in the same way, we reset button also has the same a predefined functionality. The difference is that when a reset button, when a input of type reset is created, is used as a tag, then a reset button will be created. So once a user clicks that reset button, all the fields will become empty, or whatever choice user has selected will become empty. Then the last thing is we have also seen the button as one of the type for the input text, and this will also create a button. But when user clicks that button, right now nothing is happening since this is a user-defined button, not like a submit or a reset button, but it's a button whose functionality has to be defined by the user. For example, here we have created a button as forgot password. So you can see that we have forgot password as the button. So when I'm clicking this button, nothing is happening because the functionality for this button has to be defined by the user or the developer. Not the user, actually the developer of this program. So let us move further now. Before we start the second unit, let us move further. And let us go into detail of this forms tag, as well as why we need this form tag and so on. Now here, very first thing, the input type button what we are using, the last button, forgot password button what we have created. I am saying that the functionality of this button has to be written by the developer. Like we need to write the functionality there. So now, where and how will you write that functionality? That is done using JavaScript. That is, we will be defining the name. That is BT1 we have defined. Any name you can define, doesn't matter. Then we will use this name and then try to define what happens when a user clicks this button. So what should be done? What should be the functionality? That functionality is defined using JavaScript. That obviously we're going to see in the next unit, that is the second unit, which we will be starting from in the next class, that is on Wednesday. So obviously that part we will be seeing with the JavaScript. Now, apart from that, this form tag has got several attributes. Now, let me just remove this. Let us say I'm opening a form and I'm closing this form with slash. I'm closing this form. And whatever written inside within this form tag, I have several input tags as well as select tag and all. That will be, well suited to create a user-defined form. So if I refresh it, the form is created, which we have seen in the last class. Now, this form, the purpose of this form, or not only this form, the purpose of learning HTML as part of the first unit of your web, this subject, that is web and internet technologies. The purpose is that you're trying to create a front end for the user. And from this front end, you will be, every website, obviously, if you look at each and every website, website has at least, though there are several dynamic websites or even portals where you need to have forms for various reasons. In the same way, here also we have form. We will be learning because it will be a front end for all the programming part which we are going to write at the back end. So that is the necessity that we have to have a web form, or we have to have an HTML form. So that was the purpose of learning the HTML at this part. It's not that this subject is only about designing web pages. No, it's a web technologies part in the sense that the data also has to be saved somewhere. You should have an interactive web application. You should be able to develop an interactive web application. So that is the reason here we are saying the HTML, as well as obviously using the HTMLs, we are creating a web form web page. Now, what I'll do is we will quickly try to have this web page in a certain uh, defined style. For example, if you see here, though we are using a break tag, after each input, we have an input here. We are using a BR tag so that the next input is coming on the next line. Now I have a name written here. It's definitely the just with a space, the text field for the name starts. Now this is not in a proper format or a style. So there are two things you can do here. We can use div tags to create divisions, or we can also use tables. So let us just try to look at the basically. Let us try to use tables to have the web page or this registration page in a proper format. So let us first do that. So here I have the forms tag. Though I can start the table before the form tag, but it's much better we have the form tag. And then inside the form tag, let us try to have the table tag. So here, let me say that we are having a table part here, defining a table tag. And what I'll do is I'll close the table tag before closing the forms tag. So I'm going to just close the table tag over here. Then what I'll do is to have in a proper format, we will consider the roll number, which is a text, and the input field for the roll number as a row, a single row. And obviously, roll number with the text will be in the first column, and the input field will be in the second column. So what I'll do is let me create a TR tag for table row, TR table row, and this table row should end over here. So I'm going to remove this BR tags, and I'll have TR, closing of the TR. The same way I will have the other TR tag over here. Let me have it this way. Each line I'm having a TR tag, so that each this thing is considered as a row. Let us complete this first, then we'll come back. Obviously, at the end of the line, I'll remove the BR tags, and I'm trying to have TR tags for table row. So these four things will make it in a table. Then each TR tag will have its TD. So I'll use TD tag. So at this place, I have a TD tag. At these places, I have a TD tag. Now this TD tag closes here. Let me close the TD tag over here. I'll close this TD tag here. And over here also, I'll just close this. I'll close this here, as well as here, I'll close it. Now again, I'll open a TD tag before the input, so that it comes on. I mean, we will have the text fields on a different in a different column. So for the first things I have done it, let me just save this and let us refresh it. So I mean, I have not closed it, so there's nothing been shown. I mean, the table is coming here. This much is it's much better. It's coming here. Don't worry, because we have not closed all the tags. So it's coming here. So you can see things are much more aligned in an aligned way. So let us go back, and we will have the department in TD. Then department also will between a column, first column. Let us have the department here. I'm closing this column with TD tag. Then here I'll use again, open up another TD tag. And let me have BR tags over here. Let me have BR tags over here because it will be on a different line within that same table. So I'll just have I'll just close this TD over here. That's TD over here. And then I'll close this TR. Now you just try to indent it so that you can make sure that you're not missing any opening and closing of the tags. So here this TR starts. This row starts for TR, and here we are closing this row for TR. This is the first column within TD tags. This is the second column within TD tags. Same way we'll do it here also. I'm just leaving a space so that it will be easy for us to understand. I'll remove BR tag over here and just close this TD. And then over here, I'll open another TD tag. And let me have BR tags over here because it should be on the same cell. And this, let me close this TD tag. And then over here, I'll close the TR tag. So this is part of the subjects, where subject text is in one column and all the fields are in another column. Then again, for this country also, let me do the same thing, TD. And then instead of this one, I'll close TD tag. And then next time we will open another TD tag. And let me not have BR tag over here. Let me close that TD tag. Let me close TD tag as well as we will close the TR. And for the address also, let us do the same thing. Actually, we'll not have, we will have the TR is open. We will have TD here. And let us close the TD tag. TD tag. Again, the text area is over here. So I'll just open TD tag. And over here, I'll just close TD tag. Where is it now? Okay, sorry. There's some typing mistake. I'm just closing this TD tag. Then let us close the TR tag as well. Okay. So this is again one column, another column within this TR tag. Now, after that, what we have is we have these three buttons. So what do? Let us remove the forgot password button for time being. We'll look at it how in the JavaScript how it has to be done. I'll remove the BR tags also. Now, at what we will do is just beside this also we will have these two things side by side. So what I'll do is I will open a TR tag, and then we will have TP tag, and let's have some space. -TP will close this TD tag. In the second column, I will have these two. What do you call these two buttons? That is the register button as well as the clear button side by side. Let us have it side by side. Then I'll close this TD tag as well as I'll be closing PR. So then obviously table tag closes and then we have the forms tag. So these two buttons will be in the second column side by side. So let me just save this file and refresh this. So now you can see that this is much more in an aligned way rather than how we were having in the last class, how you were seeing. This is much more in an aligned way. So whenever you just create a table, and in that table you try to create the different what do we call have the different fields in that. Now let us come back. Let me just have a border to this table so that we can border the attribute, and let me pass one single border. Just let us refresh it, and you can find that it's now in a simple border. Anyway, border and all, it's your choice, doesn't matter. And all the other fields is going to work the same way. When I click clear, everything gets clear. So this is one thing. we will be let's use a table to format the fields in a proper way so that we can have a better style. Though you can also use CSS also now to have the text style of the text now in conjunction. But for timing, let us use this form. Now, so this is what all about the styling part and all. Now, we will be using the same form or same fields when we move further to the second unit, as well as to the third unit, and maybe fourth unit also. So we will be using the same HTML form. Obviously, what we will do after that will be a different issue in second unit or in third unit and fourth unit. That's a completely different issue there. But this form, this type of a form, we will be using throughout the subject. Now let us come back to the code. What we need to talk. So this was all about how to create a web page and have a, I mean, in a proper formatted way, a registration form in a formatted way. Now let us talk about some important things. That is, when I'm going to click this register, when I'm clicking this register, what happens? What should happen? Obviously, it's showing the same form, but when I click register, what should happen? When I'm clicking register, this web page, the data which user has typed in this web page, complete this web page. And when she click this register and when you submit it to the data is actually data goes and gets saved in a database. Now, from a web page, from an HTML, we cannot directly save the data in a database. Directly cannot be saved in an Oracle database or MySQL database. You have to first retrieve the data that the user has submitted. Now, obviously, retrieving the data or what do we say, accessing the data of what user has submitted, that data. When you try to retrieve it, you have to have some functional programming behind that. So, when to retrieve a data what user has entered in a registration form or in a form, an HTML form, we need to have some program to do that. Those programs are nothing but your Java servlets or Java server pages, JSP, or what we say a PHP. What now you might have heard a lot about PHP these days. PHP. So no, not only that, we also, I mean, ASP.NET. Then obviously ASP.NET creates a form there. You need C# or VB.NET behind that to access it. So these are all the different what do you call languages in which programming languages in which you can write programs to access. All these programming languages will not work on the browser. These programs, which is written in PHP or servlets or JSP or ASP.NET or C#, all these programs works on the web server. They execute on the web server. So actually what happens is when user clicks this button register, when he clicks this button register, this data has to go to a web server. In the web server, you will have a respective program, the PHP program or servlet program or JSP program to handle this data. And then after retrieving this data, the data will be saved in the database. So, having said this, where and how the data is transmitted to the server so that it can be handled. So that is what we will see now. The form tag will have its name. Let's say name as F1, name as the attribute, that is the form tag. Will have its name as all the input. This type text is there. Its name you have as role. Then this name is S name. The same way, even the form has a name. The reason for this is that they can be multiple forms in a web page. On a web page, you may have multiple forms. That is, on the same web page, you may have the form. Here you may have this. You're seeing this form, which has all the registration part. You can have a form on the top right corner. I mean, obviously, when I'm where I'm moving my mouse over here, which is blank, there you can just have another form for as login and password and submit and clear button. You can have it here. So instead of if it's a registered user, instead of filling all these things, the user will be able to, I mean, just use his username and password and log in. So in this case, you will have two forms on a web page. So there may be multiple forms on a web page. So that is why if you provide a name for the form, you will be able to easily distinguish between the data from which form the data is coming. So you can easily distinguish between the data of different forms there using the name of the form. That is one thing. Now the most important thing is the method. The method. Method is also an attribute. We'll come back to method later. And the third thing is action. This action attribute is actually where you will be providing or where you'll be specifying the location where the data should be sent. Which data? The data with user types. I have typed roll number 1002. This is the name ABC, XYZ ABC, some phone number, some password, some selection of electronics, some selection of web programming and networks. Select this country selection. This all data is the data that has to be sent. So the action attribute is used to specify the location where the form data, the entire form data should be sent. And then later you can process that data. All those things can happen. So action attribute is used to define the location where the data has to be sent. For example, let us say, don't worry, we will be writing this later in third unit. Register. Let us say register exe. See, I'm saying execute. Register, execute the register. Dot, let's say JSP. Now this is a Java server page. Now you can have PHP also. PHP. So this is the file where the data will be sent. Now I mean, depending on the programming languages, for example, if it's PHP file, then in PHP we need to write certain statements to retrieve this data. That's a different issue altogether. Now suppose if this is a JSP file, if this is a JSP file where we are sending, then altogether we need to write the separate statements using JSP to retrieve the data. That's a different matter at all altogether. But here we are so now if we specify register exe.jsp, the entire content what user has typed will be sent to this program or this web page what we say, or this web program what we say. Now let me save this. Let me refresh it, and then let me have that name, so and so roll number, so and so phone number. Password I'm typing as QAZ. Let's say I'm typing that QAZ is the password I'm typing. I'm just opening that eyewall and showing the password. Now then I'll select computer science here. Over here I'll select databases and computer networks. Then country I'll select. Me select India. Address, let us say hello. Not that way. Let us get some 2-4-5. Some plot 2A something. Now we have provided, now look very carefully, we have provided the action as register execc.jsp file. Remember this. Yeah. Now, if I click register, look very carefully. When I click register, you can find that file not found. That is the I mean earlier we were getting onto the same web page, but actually it's not the same web page. You will find file not found. Now obviously this is because in the address bar, just look at the address bar, register execc.jsp. We have not written this program at all. That is why it's showing file not found. The other thing is, obviously this execc, you can see the address bar. I'm highlighting on the address bar. I mean, obviously I cannot zoom this part. Let me look at how to zoom. Let me just search. There is a way to zoom. Magnifier, turn on and off, I think. There's something. Let me just start. I'll turn on the magnifier, but how do I use that magnifier? Oh, well, I'll just keep this as it is. Okay. Now, is it magnified? And are you able to see this? What I'm clicking? Register exe. I think it's much better now visible over here. Now, this part, register execc.jsp, is actually the at the end. This is where we have provided on our. This is where we have provided in the actions attribute. Remember, we have provided in the actions attribute. So when we provided this in our actions attribute, where is my? Okay, here. Now you can find that this is the place. This is my address bar. You can see this is my address bar. Register.exe. It's going to that page. So the data is being sent to this page. Now obviously we are getting file not found since it is trying to search the file in C drive, user, student, desktop, sample, so and so place. It's trying to search. The thing is actually searching in that place, and the other thing is we have not written this JSP file. This program we have not written. Now, suppose if we just let me change over here. I'll make this as register PHP. I'll just make it as PHP. Register PHP. I hope you people are able to see what I'm typing. So obviously I have zoomed my screen just to show you. I will just save this file. And if I refresh here, okay, I need to go back and come back again. Let me have this roll number this way, name over here, some phone number, and just let it be. I'm not going to fill up all the other things. Just let me submit this register. So when I'm submitting register, now you can find that it is the register.php file. It's the register.php file where it's going. So let me, and the other thing is the resource is not found here because we have not written the file. Neither we have written the, where is the magnifier? Here. So let me close this magnifier. So we have not written that file, neither we have written. I think there's some mistake happened here. You will wonder what happened, I think. Just let me refresh this. Why has it become so? I think there's something I have typed it wrong someplace. Okay, yeah. I did not close this. Actually, and when I was zooming, this went back. So anyway, this is there. So we have something here. I'm just clicking. Your register.php has come here, which is not written. So very first thing, it is trying to search in the desktop some folder and the local desktop it's going to search. Now these programs will not be present on the desktop. these programs are written on inside and works inside a web server. Not only that, here the where is my this is the folder which we have been seeing since the start of this semester. Samples folder in which we have written so many HTML files and seen the HTML tags. This entire folder itself will not be on a desktop. When we try to develop a website, it will not be on a desktop. It has to be on a web server, as well as the file register.php or register.jsp will be on a web server, not on your local system. So that is one thing you have to remember. The other thing is, whatever file you provide in actions attribute, that the whole data is sent to that file or that program. So whatever program you provide in the actions attribute, it will be sent to that program, the data. Now the other thing is, how is the data sent? Now here in actions we have just seen where is the data sent. Now we have to also look at how is the data sent. So where we know it's going to be sent to register.jsp. But how is it going to be sent? That is defined using the methods attribute. That is defined using the methods attribute. Now there are actually three types of methods, but generally we use two types of methods. One is the get, the other one is the post. One way is get. You can use small get or you can use capital get. It doesn't matter. The other one is post. Post in small case or post in capital case. So these two ways you can send data. The difference is that if you use get method, that is if we use get method to send the data. And get is the default method. Remember, if you don't provide the method attribute, by default, it will be using get method to send the data. The difference is that when we use get method as get, the data is sent to the server or a web program where to the server where the web program is present. It is sent attached to the URL. When we are using get, it is sent attached to the URL. So let us look at what this means. I'm saving this and I'm just refreshing this. It's a get data. I'll just go back and come again. I'm refreshing this. So roll number, let's take that ABC, phone number something. Let's take the password as QAZ, electronics, web programming, databases. Let's say America, and I'm going to say register. Now I told you if when we are using get, what is happening? The data is sent to the server or the program, which we have defined in the actions attribute, using get method through a URL. It is as attached. When we are using get method, it is attached to the URL. Now let me again use a magnifier. Oh, there's an app itself for magnifier. What happens now? Okay, it's magnified. No problem. Now, are you able to see this part? Register.jsp. This is the actions which we have defined. Then, apart from actions, you will find something known as question mark. Hope this is visible because I have enlarged the screen. I mean, used a magnifier there, not enlarged, used a magnifier there. Now, just after the resource to which we will be sending the data, you will have, it will be preceded by a question mark. After question mark, everything you find over here, what I am just selecting, is nothing but the data which user has submitted. This entire thing, the data which user has submitted. Hope it is clearly visible to you because over here, this is the data user has submitted. Now let us look at what is this data. Now, what is the first thing? We have, just a minute. I'll just keep this side by side and let's see how it looks like. क्या हो रहा जी? I'll just close this magnify. Okay, okay. Now I'm just going to keep these things side by side. Now you can find this. You can find that. Here I have the roll number. The first input field is name is roll number. Roll, not roll number. Roll we have here. And I had typed 102, so you can find 102 over here. So you can find 102 roll equal to 102. Then and every pair will be separated by and. And what was the next thing? We had S name, the name where we typed the name as the attribute there, input. So what was the name I have typed? XYZ space ABC. So here you can find S name and after and there is a next value. S name equal to XYZ plus ABC. Now what happens is a URL obviously, or everybody knows the websites will not have spaces. So for example, if it's gmail.com, it's a whole word. There is no space between that. For example, there is no space between G space and mail.com. Gmail is one word. So URLs and URIs or addresses will not have any spaces. But when user is typing his name as XYZ space ABC, we cannot have space here in the URL. Though the data may have space. So what happens? Space gets replaced by plus sign. And you don't have to worry about removing the plus sign at the backend. It is encoded this way. So at the backend, you will be getting, when you retrieve it using a program, JSP program, PHP program, you will get a space there. Don't worry about it. You will be having space there. But here, since it's a URL, the space will be appended by plus sign. And the next thing is we had next name or the text field as for the phone number, PH as the name. So here you can find, you will have PH and phone number. PH and that was 123 was the phone number which I have added. And I told you password I am typing QAZ. So can you find PWD equal to QAZ? So this PWD is because the type over here is password. Over here type is password, and the name of this field we had used is PWD. So that is the reason we are having over here PWD equal to QAZ. That's what I have typed as the password. So if you are using get as the method, the entire data is sent to the server, web server, as attached to the URL, as it is attached to the URL. At the end, it is attached and sent. Now, if we use post, let us do one thing here over here. Instead of get method, I will make it as post. I will make it as post. I'll just save over here and let me come back. And then I'll not refresh it. I need to go back actually. I filled everything. I'll refresh this page. Then the same things I'll select 102 ABC, and then I have 123. A password also QAZ. I'll type. That's the password I'm typing. QAZ. I'll select some fields, and then I'll just click register. Now here also you're finding file not found. Doesn't matter about that. But look at the URL. This URL only has where the data should be sent. Whatever the register.jsp or whatever resource we provided in the actions attribute, only that we are having here. The rest of the data is not visible because the method we are using is a post method. And whenever we send the data to using the post method, it will be sent as a message, as a response to the message body itself. It will be within the packet, it will be attached, so it will not be visible to the user. It will not be visible to the user, and it is sent as the data uh, attached, sent to the server, as the data is attached to the message body itself. It is attached to the packets. So this packets and all you will learn in computer networks. That's a different thing itself. But here remember that when you are sending it through a method as get, and get is a default method. If you don't use get, obviously by default it will be get itself. So when you use get method, the data is sent to the web server, to that register.jsp page, whatever program it is, the web server, attached to the URL. That is what we have seen earlier. And when the method specified is post, when the method specified is post, so when the method specified is post, as you can see here, method is specified as post, it will be sent, the data will be sent with the message body, and it's not, it is not sent through the URL, and it will not be visible to the user. Are you getting it? This is most important. Now, the last attribute part is we had seen name for this is we are talking about attributes of form. So we have seen name, method, action. There is one more attribute which we need to see. This attribute is known as encrypt. ENC type. Sorry, not encrypt. It's encoding type. It's an encoding type, and this attribute encoding type, it has something like text, multi-part, single part. Obviously, single part is not used. It will. You need to pass multi-part over here. Multi-part. There is no specification for using this. ENC type is encoding type, and this, when you are using encoding type, we cannot use get as the method. Remember that. We cannot use get. And encoding type is, we cannot use get. When encoding type is used, which is multi-part, the method should always be post. Remember this. Now, what is the purpose of this encoding multi-part and such things? This is because when you have to send, obviously here what are you sending? You are just sending some text which is very small, some input which user has given is very small. But when the text is very large, not text, sorry, the amount of data is very large. When the amount of data is very large, then ENC type attribute has to be used. For example, the best example would be attaching a file. You may find here, after registering everything, I mean having the registration file from here, you may find a link to upload some scanned document. So when you are uploading a scanned document, obviously the data is huge here, very large over here. So in that case, you cannot, we just cannot use a normal get method to send the data. So we need to use post and then the ENC type attribute as multi-part. So usually this is not used in when they are when a small amount of data is required. But it's obviously when you are trying to have some attachment in a web form, then we need to use this ENC type as the attribute and have to specify it as multi-part, so that we will be able to handle large amount of data. So for time being, I'm just removing this. So this is what was the main thing which had to be covered. I mean, just we could not have, though last class we just had seen there is an action, there is a method, and so and so. But today in this class, we have seen the details about these things and what is the use of this action, and then what happens or how the data is sent and which way the data is sent using the get and the post method. So this was all about these things what I wanted to discuss. Then there are several other tags and all which has come up. I mean, you can for your uh, own interest, you can explore them and just create a very elegant websites. But as far as the your exam is concerned or your syllabus is concerned, these are the tags which we have to take care of. So this was the all about this session. Now let us try to, before we end this, I'll just before we end this session, just let me ask you a question. Now we had seen the difference between get and post, but where do you think post will be better than the get method? Just anybody can reply. Where do you think the post method may be suitable rather than using a get method? In which scenarios? Yes, good. Data security. Why data security? Very well. Well, why do you think? Why? Okay, that's correct. That's fine. Data security. Uh, but do the others know that why data security? Why for what purpose? How data security? How can you secure your data? And all? Yes, password is not visible. Password is not visible in our screen after so. What happens is, if you use, when you're creating this login web pages where you have username and password, and you provide this form method, if you don't provide the method, by default it will be a get method. Or even if you provide a method, you have to provide that method as a post. If you make it, I mean, if you have the method as get, the password will be visible on the URL itself. Though it's not visible when user is typing, it's getting masked. You can find that asterisk coming up. It is getting masked. But what happens when you submit it, it will be visible. So as it is visible on the URL, the same way it will be visible to anyone sitting. I mean, it just goes as a text in the URL. So not only, I mean, I'm not talking about some hacker sitting there and trying to hack your passwords. Obviously, that hacker can also hack the passwords if you send it through a post message. It's not that. But what happens is when since it is sent as a URL, your history, that is the web browser's history, or the logs where what you're doing is stored. Everywhere, it is stored as a as a URL. So when it is stored as a URL, anybody trying to look at the logs or look at the history will come to know about your password. So that is the reason. That is one thing. So for example, the best thing here, in college, I'm talking about it's college. Now suppose if you create a web page where you have, suppose if I have created a web page and I forgot to change the method to post, and I have a get method. I'm sitting on this one and doing it. It goes through a web browser. Nobody looks at that web browser. Anyway, it was visible on the web browser. I'm using get method. It is sent. Everything is fine. Then, just imagine the scenario here. The data is not directly going to what do you call, directly to the web server to save my credentials. The data is from here, it travels to some switch, there on that switch, the data might be logged. Then from there, it goes to some internet server room where it is stored in the logs or, I mean, on a proxy server. Then from that server, it goes to the service provider where college is taking the service from. And then obviously from there, it goes to so many places and gets saved in the database wherever the website is hosted. So all these places that the URL, your URL is getting saved. And what is the URL having? URL is having the password there. So anybody will be able to find out. So that is the reason the best thing is to use the post method. But now you might be wondering that when we post is much better, then why do we have a get method? What is the purpose of having a get method when the post was much better? Can anybody reply? When we had post, obviously it has several advantages. Then why was the get method? Why do we have the get method? Oh yeah, that's fine. Fine. The get method, I mean, actually, the very first thing is it's a basic method, and initial at very initial stages when the internet was developed and when the communication was there, so that was used. But now since post is there, even get is there, and this get method is very much needed to test whether the pairs I was showing you, it uses and. So PWD equal to that QAZ was the value. So all these, the data has a key value pair. So whatever goes through the URL has a key value pair. So this key value pair, to test whether this data of this key value pair is correct or not. So it's used for debugging or it's used for testing purpose. So that is the reason there. So any other doubt with respect to today's session? If you don't have any other doubt, let us wind up this class. So anyway, anybody has any other doubt? Just reply. So very good doubt. Syllabus or CIE1. What is the CIE1? Are you talking about the class internal test, internal one? Okay. Class test one. Syllabus for class test one is nowhere. Uh, Nowhere near, I suppose. You still have 3 weeks for class test one. So let us not look into class test one right now. Let us complete few more things, then we will decide what to keep. So I hope that is the what I want to say is don't worry about class test one for timing right now. Right now, don't worry about class test one or internal one or CIE one. Any other thing? Any other doubt? If nobody has any doubts, then can we wind up today's session? Okay, then. Thank you. Okay, then. Thank you very much.